Hey, and welcome to the Preferred Contractors podcast, where we give you actionable steps to grow your contracting business. I'm your host, Jordan Harrison. We are pumped today to have a kick-ass guest, Mr. Greg Wave, owner of GrayScale Media. He's going to talk to you guys we're going to talk about everything sales, and what you can do to really, increase your conversions and blow up your contracting business, man. So Greg, welcome, man. Happy to have you.
Hell yeah, absolutely. No, and thank you for having me, man. I'm super excited for this.
Dude, it's gonna be pumped, man. So look, we've got to talk about your journey for a moment before we get into anything, because people got to know who you are, and your background is awesome. Because we've worked together before for God, we've been in coaching programs and a few other things for the past 6-7 months now. So we've got to know each other. So I want people to know about you for a moment. So talk to your journey a little bit in the marketing sales space, and then what got you here, and what's how's GrayScale Media going?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we started GrayScale Media, I believe it's been a couple of years ago now, probably got an anniversary coming up here soon. But how I got into the whole industry and space is actually very interesting. So before I started my agency, was just an actor, and I was living the typical actor lifestyle. I wasn't in LA or anything, but I was basically hustling out Uber to make sure I had money to pay bills while I did auditions. I had very minimal sales or marketing experience at the time. And essentially one thing led to another. I got sucked into a Facebook ad training course. I learned how to run ads, met my business partner there as well. And that was basically how we started in the sales and marketing space. We grew the SEO side of our business up on the marketing side for a couple of years, and that was our main focus. And then I really started realizing that I myself had more of a passion for sales. I was just one of those weirdos that loved getting on the phone with people. I had no intimidation of it. I just hop on, I'm like chatty Cathy, just talking with everybody, and was really horrible at it, but honestly got really far just from a very organic perspective. Even though I had a lot of knowledge gaps, I was still able to sell very well just off of really the experience that I offered people. So that's a big selling point for me, and that's something that I think is more important than almost any product knowledge or anything. It's just that you can sell yourself and your experience, and it's honestly something I'd like to talk about a lot today too with the folks at home, we'll say.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's been a fun journey.
What's funny, I think our journey started in the same place. If I'm not mistaken, we all started from the same Facebook ad in the same program. So things have come full circle since then. So I guess really it's been a year and a half. So it's
yeah,
that's a long time. But yeah, so let's get into sales, right? Because that's the big thing why we're here. People, everybody's got different philosophies, and everybody's got different ways to sell. They think some things are immoral or not. So we're just kind of break down where marketing is today, not marketing, where sales is today. So let's go with the first thing here. What do you think? Okay, and we talked about this before we hopped on here today. So what do you think is the biggest mistakes that people are making, business owners, sales rep, in their sales process?
Absolutely. Well, I think the number one mistake in sales in general with a sales team, or if you're a smaller, kind of mom and pop shop that's growing and you're still shingling roofs as well as making the sales yourself, or whatever side it is, I think you see two things. So you see sales reps that are they're just way too anxious to get their commission, right? So they're on the call and they're just constantly thinking, as the business owner or the consumer, whoever their target audience is, they're just sitting there thinking from this mindset of like, how do I rope them in? How do I rope them in? How do I hard close them? How do I get them to give me the credit card over the phone? They're thinking about themselves. And I think you have that. And then you have some people who get product happy. And what I mean by that is they just run through gobs of facts, straight down a pitch or a bullet point list of like what their product is to the consumer. And the thing that I think people forget is that these people don't have your knowledge. They don't have your life experience. They don't think the same way as you. Their brain doesn't operate the same way as you. And this is something I attest to personally, is like, I was a horrible student. So if somebody tries to sell me by just listing off everything about the product, you won't sell me, because odds are I'm not going to understand half, if not 3/4 of what you're saying. So you need a really good combination of knowing your pitch, knowing your product. I'm not saying any of that is not important, And I'm not even saying that you shouldn't hard close. Like, I think that if you really believe you have a phenomenal service, then hard close. Grant Cardone talks about that a lot, that like, if you really believe in it, you're gonna sell. So I'm not saying any of that's not imperative, but I think the number one most important skill in sales, and I might be the only person on the planet that says this, but I believe it's awareness. I believe it's awareness and empathy. Because what I noticed is that I had a lot of quick success in selling because I learned that as an actor. There's an acting technique called Meisner technique, which is basically about being extremely present, being in the moment. And a scenario that I've always heard from an acting school that I believe translates so well in sales is there was a story about an acting coach who ran an actor through a scenario. And he said, I want you to pretend like you're at a bus stop and you're anxious for the bus to get here, and just go, like, show me that scene, act it out. And this kid's just in a classroom. So he gets there and he does a typical, he's like looking at a fake watch constantly and trying to act frantic, like he's nervous, he's going to miss a job interview or something like that. And she stops him and she goes, okay, what time is it? And he was like, well, I don't know. And she goes, well, you just checked your watch. What time is it? And he was like, well, I have no idea. And she said, exactly, you're not present. You're not in the scene. I want you to be in the scene. Do it again. And I won't expound on that story anymore, but I think to translate that into a sales story or sales analogy is guys are screaming through a pitch and they have no awareness. They haven't studied their prospects' reactions, their body language, how they're responding. They haven't given them a chance to talk so that they can just listen. And so I think when you practice the skill of awareness, it's making someone feel like you're very invested in them. One thing I like to do, a small tip, is if I'm doing a Zoom presentation and someone then stops me in the middle and goes, well, can you stop and ask what that is? I don't leave the screen up still presenting. I stop it. I make eye contact with them just like this, because over Zoom, you can't look here. I can't look at you, Jordan. I've got to look at the camera so that they feel like I'm making that connection with them. So I'll stop my presentation and I'm hyper zoned in and I'm listening. Awesome, man. I'm really sorry that you've had that experience in the past. That's horrible. I talked to a lot of other, homeowners that also experience that, or might be more, just like, yeah, I understand you. So basically what this part of our offer is this, and this. Like, you've got to be willing to stop, break down in preschool steps to the homeowner or your ideal target customer, what you're explaining, what you're pitching. And so I think awareness and empathy, which really tie hand in hand, because ultimately, I've heard so many people say this. Simon Sinek has said this, that you're never selling your product or your service, you're selling the experience with you. So if you're talking to someone and they feel like you're really hearing them, you're really listening, if they tell a joke, you're actually kind of laughing with them and not just speeding right back into your pitch. Like, it's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about your product. It's about them. So be the best listener. Be responsive. If you've been in sales any level of time, you know about a technique called mirroring, which is just kind of emulating the emotions that they're emulating. If they're laughing, you're kind of laughing. If they're, talking about getting screwed over by this roofing company, you're really empathizing with that. Like, really make them feel like you're emotionally invested. And don't do this from like a fake it till you make it standpoint. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with that statement, because I feel like we can care about other human beings enough to where if they got hosed 60 grand by some other company, put yourself in their shoes for 2 seconds. Visualize you and your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, your partner going through that pain. And then now you're able to translate into that, whereas now you're getting to the end of your pitch and, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I'm just so heartbroken over that experience you guys have. And I just hope you know that my mission is to give you guys an experience that is the exact opposite. I want to be thorough. I want to be prompt. And ultimately, I want to give you guys a product and a service that is going to serve your needs. And ideally, you don't have that experience. Now you're able to use those pain points that came from an organic conversation and not you just being like, okay, so what's the biggest struggle in your business? And, what's the biggest bottleneck in your business? Like, you can't be robotic about it. You got to discover those pain points from a place of empathy, not a place of robotic pitching. So I would say awareness and empathy, I think, is the most for one, underrated skill set in sales. But I think it's the most valuable and the most important skill set, even beyond the smartest person in the room, knowing the product inside and out. You've got to sell that experience with you. Just be a damn good human being.
Well, yeah, no, I agree. And you'll be surprised about how many business owners will get a referral off of a no, because they gave them the customer experience, and they gave them, they showed they listened and they cared about them in that moment, in that time, that they weren't there to hard sell them something. And at the end, somebody goes, "Hey, I talked to, Joe Schmo. He was going to come do our roof. We didn't really need a roof, but I know you do. But he walked us through it. He was fantastic. Why don't you go talk to him?"
Yeah,
You gain
absolutely.
a referral. Yeah, you can get a referral off a no, just because you provided a great customer experience, even though you didn't do the job. So no, I agree, man. And that's something it's hard for people to do. It's hard for people to do in conversations, is to just listen, like just really tune in and listen. And I know you had mentioned Chris Voss, I think the FBI guy, and talk about mirroring and listening to people's emotions, because when you do mirror that, it also gets you into, I believe gets you into their brain and into the empathy part, where you're really connected with them. And that's that's great stuff, dude. Cool,
absolutely.
man. So I'm looking at my questions here, because that one right there, I was like, shoot, that could just be the podcast and that's it. Like, drop a bomb and like boom, we'd be good at just enough right there, value in the first 5 or so minutes. So let's talk about establishing that relationship, right? So what is, the weather conversations, I see this, the picking out here or there, like those, that's a given thing. But like, how do you, because you're a relatable person. So how do you go, what's the best way you go about establishing a relationship when you actually first talk to a prospect?
Absolutely. Well, if we're going beyond like the outreach stage, like let's say we're actually booking in a discovery call, a connection call. I'm a firm believer in 2-step calls, because I really like just getting to know them on that first call. I can very easily find out those pain points, and now I can prepare everything I need to prepare for a second call. I usually do the second one over Zoom or Google Meets, and I'm more prepped. But what I'm doing for that, let's just say from the perspective of the discovery call, I'm doing a little bit of research, nothing too crazy, but I want to find 1 or 2 things I can bring up right away to warm them up. So I love organic outreach. My entire sales team scrapes off of Facebook and LinkedIn. They scrape groups, they DM business owners, or we're kind of stepping into some other spaces as well. So now we're messaging homeowners, and then I'm going through their profile. One thing that's helped me is I've always told people I'm the type of guy that knows a little bit about a lot of different things. And I credit this to, like, when I was in my early 20s, I drove Uber for like 3-4 years. And I honestly just collected this like vast array of knowledge on the most random topics. But for me, what I like is, based on their profile or what I know about them, I can usually find 1 or 2 things to bring up, So for instance, last weekend, I used this actually with someone that I closed. I had a business owner that I was prospecting for some marketing services. I noticed he was a huge Packers fan, and it was like right after that horrendous loss by the Packers. And so, I'm going in for the discovery call, and, I usually started off the same way, "Hey, so-and-so, for one, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk to me. I know you were probably up pretty late just grieving that horrendous loss you guys had last night. I'll send some Kleenex your way," make a little joke to them. And right away, here's what they'll do. I'll get them talking. And this is where we need to shut the hell up in sales. We need to shut the hell up. Let them talk. If they ever start talking, just let them talk. I don't think you need to cut them off. If you need to book them in with a second call, great. You know what they feel now? They feel very warm with you. So if they're going to go on a tangent about the Packers and how they've been a fan since they were 4, and him and his wife cried on the couch after the loss, let them, and joke around here and there. But like, what's annoying to people, I think, is when someone's constantly like, "Oh yeah, that's really fun. Listen, man, let's get back on track though. I really want to take some time." Now, what you're showing? You're showing that you care more about yourself than them. Listen, just listen. So I like starting off with 2 really warm points, 1 or 2 things, honestly. Commonalities. If they're not, now it kind of depends on the person, because I've noticed with a lot of people, you've got just very, very different personality types. One life experience that has served me so much. I was a basketball coach for a middle school basketball team. It was for a school that had never had a program. So these kids get on the court, they've never touched a ball in their life. And what I noticed is for each kid, I had to motivate them differently. Some guys love the camaraderie of being on a team. They love the brotherhood of going through conditioning together, going through practice together, growing as a group of guys. Some guys were just pure competition. They wanted to win. You don't need to do much with those guys. Some guys, they just wanted to, experience it. And so to get them motivated, I had to be a little more creative. It wasn't about hoops. It wasn't about competition. It wasn't even really about the teammates. It was honestly just about like really learning about what they were looking for and then trying to do whatever I could to motivate them each day. So I think you have to have a mindset like that with every single prospect, because I'm really fascinated by a study called epigenetics, which is basically that from 0 to 7, our worldview is being crafted based on our environment for the rest of our lives. And there's a lot of scientific backing behind it. And so what I've seen is that with each person, you have to take into account that they were probably raised a lot different than you. They have a different worldview than you, and they're going to be motivated by different things. Some people it's savings. Some people just want to know that they can trust you, So I think the biggest thing is you start off with 1 to 2 warm points right away, get them talking and just listen. And through their talking, they'll probably come up with something. But if not, how I'm kind of extracting those messages that I want to hear, or those pain points that I want to hear, is after I've done some warm delivery, I thank them again for being on the call. Well, hey, Mr. Smith, I want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day. I'm just curious, I did a little bit of research on your business. Seems like you guys got a pretty good thing going. How long have you guys been around? That's my first question almost every time, because now they're, a couple of years. Now, if you're doing this more towards the homeowner and you're pitching them a new roof, you're pitching them a new HVAC package, whatever it is, what I'm going to do there is I'm just going to say, hey, so again, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk to me. So when's the last time you got your roof replaced? Has anyone ever door knocked and talked to you about, the benefits of just kind of getting a new roof just through insurance? I'm not in the roofing space, so I'm just trying to give very loose examples of what that could look like, right? But I'm asking one question about their business or about their product that I'm trying to replace, that I'm trying to sell. One question: how long have you had it? How long have you been in this home? Something like that. Oh, pretty good, awesome. And just in your experience, has it been good for you? Has it worked well for you? Any question like that that's ideally going to get them talking is basically my goal, because I want them to tell me what their pain point is without me directly asking. And that's basically my entire goal. So I think warm them up and have 1 to 2 questions ready that somewhat correlate with your product, your service, whatever, but it's a little bit sneaky to where you're not just flat out asking, what's your biggest problem? I want to solve it because I'm a problem solver. No, you don't look like that when you say that. What you look like is someone who's hungry for a commission.
And I know there's some people that call that, what they call it, commission breath.
That's exactly.
Like, they know you're itching for that commission and that money, and they know you're not there to help, and that's hard to overcome. That's hard to overcome, especially if you're just starting out in sales, and you got to have the income, right? It's hard to want to be helpful first, and really establish that relationship. But it's funny you said that. My phone broke the other day. And my lens cracked. So like literally, I shoot content on my phone, so I couldn't do anything at all. So I had somebody come out to replace it. Well, that guy has to upsell an insurance program, right, with AT&T. So he came into my home and he just did the phone swap, which was nothing, right? I paid it and he did it. But there's a insurance program that AT&T has. It's dirt cheap, but it helps his paycheck, right? So he sat there for the phone exchange and getting my phone set up took maybe 20 minutes, but he sat there and listened and talked with me for 30, 40 minutes about, what I do with, the podcast and marketing and stuff. And then after I got done, I actually just started asking him about, okay, so tell me more about the program. Next thing you know, he sold me into it. Because why? He sat there for 30, 40 minutes. And we talked about, business and talked about the stuff. So that worked, right? And I know that's not a big sell. It's not selling a roof. It was a $20 a month insurance thing, but it helps him out.
Right.
And it covers all my electronics in house. But he took 20, 30 minutes to actually listen, have a conversation, and open me up to go, hey, you know what? I'll take a look at it. Looked at it. It was a good program. Sign me up.
Yeah, that's absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like, it's just taking that time, being invested, really caring about them. You know, if you walk them through your process or your little presentation or whatever it is, be willing to ask all the questions. Don't feel frustrated with it. Like, all that's going to show. So if you're internally thinking like, oh, this is annoying the hell out of me, like I wish this homeowner would just shut up and just like let me finish, I guarantee you they will pick up on that energy from you. They will pick that up because you might be thinking it, but it's going to translate through your body language. Human beings, like, I think we're very intricate and complex as a species. Like, I think anyone would agree with me on that. But I think we discredit our ability to be intuitive. You know, this is like primal primitive instincts that happen on a very subconscious level. And so if whatever you're thinking is going to like manifest through your body language or how you deliver those words. So that's where having true empathy, really caring about them, really trying to see yourself in their shoes is going to help so much. Because now, rather than being like, yeah, no, yeah, I'll walk you through that again, or yep, I can walk you through that again. Now your response is more like, yeah, absolutely, I don't mind going through that again. Like, let's dive into it. I want to make sure you're fully aware and you really understand. You see the difference just in that? And in your head, you might not see it because you're in the middle of a pitch, you know, and you're getting annoyed with the questions or whatever it is. And so then you say things with like a certain tone or in a very stiff manner that doesn't make them feel welcome. You know, you want them talking more, don't run from that. You want them asking more questions, don't run from that, you know?
Yep, 100%, man. I agree. So you said sales process. So let's get into that because some people don't understand, especially if you're building a business to be sustainable and to be teachable, and to be scalable, right? You need processes that work, and sales is one of the big ones that people struggle with developing. Like, you as the owner, you're always going to have the passion to sell your product or service because it's yours, it's your
Right.
baby. But how do you put that, like, putting it into a sales process that they can actually teach somebody else, make it scalable, motivate them to do it? That's the difficult part. So let's get into philosophy for just a moment. I know you've touched on a lot of stuff there. So what are your thoughts, okay, on how sales has changed? All right. So we're talking about creating a sales process. What are your thoughts on how sales has changed, and and how does that relate to what your philosophy is now?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that question for one. So, I mean, I think it's changed immensely in the last 2 to 3 years. Obviously, when COVID came around, you know, everybody was switching to Zoom. And I think what a lot of homeowners realized, just because I know a lot of contractors are going to be on here, what a lot of homeowners realized as they got comfortable with Zoom is like, well, I don't know if I necessarily want someone coming inside my house to do a presentation if I don't need it. If they can just do it over Zoom and give me everything I need to know there, I might prefer that. So I think the biggest change is how things are turning digital. I myself door knocked back in the day. I was a very, very good door knocker. I was a canvassing manager as well for a solar company. I could knock doors all day. I could talk to the homeowners all day. And it's not that that's an ineffective strategy. It works extremely well for a lot of companies still to this day. But I do think in the next 5 years, we're going to start slowly seeing that dwindle and dwindle down. So as far as the process, I think almost any home service-based business needs to be looking digital for how they do as much as they possibly can. For one, you're going to keep your overhead lower. If you've got reps that you're not needing to cover, you know, they don't need trucks to go drive to homeowners. They don't need the gas. Like, you're going to save money. You're going to save a lot of money for one. So there's already one benefit. This is why so many companies, they realized from the pandemic that they can have a lot of employees that don't need to be coming in every day as long as they can get their work done and someone's staying on them virtually. You know, the company's going to progress still and they're going to have less overhead. So I think having a digital process is imperative. And then as far as the sales process, you know, it's going to depend a little bit how you do your initial prospecting. I'm a huge fan of just organic outreach via social media. Obviously, I'm a big fan of some marketing services as well, you know, getting a really good lead generation campaign just to get people in the door, I think is another way where you don't realize you're actually saving money, because this is really an entire position you don't have to pay out if you can do it well. So I would say start on the digital side of your sales process, on the prospecting point. What are your qualifiers? What do you need to have a qualified candidate? Get that set in stone first, so that if you have a marketing team, or if you have more of like an appointment setting team, they're targeting the right types of people. Otherwise, you're going to have sales reps wasting their time with people that are either going to credit fail if you need a credit check, or you're going to have people that the information's not accurate. You get there, and if the roof was already replaced a couple of years ago and they don't need one. You want to make sure you're not just like spraying and praying to the point where you're bringing in a bunch of people that are unqualified. So I think step one is get an outreach process in place, whether that's via marketing, whether that's via door knocking, cold calling, whatever it is. Get a prospecting system in place. Once you've got leads coming in, now it's just going to depend a little bit about your product and how you sell it. But I think you do need to have an effective pitch in place. As a salesman, I always say I'm way more of like a consultant than a traditional salesman. I actually hate hard closing. I don't even think it's necessary. And I think if you're really good, it definitely isn't necessary. But I also understand that I can't teach a lot of people to sell the exact way I sell. So I need to have systems in place for the guys I'm training up. So right now, I've got 4 or 5 guys that are going through high ticket closing training for, my company. And one thing I've noticed is that each one of them really kind of needs a separate process if I really want them to be successful. I think the biggest mistake companies make in their sales department is they think they can have a plug and play process that everyone should just be able to run through. Some people are going to be better at almost improving than just screaming through a pitch. Some guys, if they don't have a pitch structured out with rebuttals, they won't be able to do it. So I think you got to know your team members first before you can really develop an effective process. I think another mistake is going out and trying to hire 50 salesmen at once. I think start with 1 to 3, customize it around them, start growing them from there. What do they need? Well, how can I fit their needs? Being there for your salesman is going to be very, very effective, because it's such a mental game. Guys get really depressed in this industry. They get dejected. There's a lot of no's, and there's a lot of people who quit simply because they just need a different type of way of selling. It's like education. Not everybody is meant for, the traditional educational system we have. I'm the first one to testify to that. I think I'm a really smart person. I was horrible in school. I had a specific way of needing to learn. Your salesmen are going to have a specific way of needing to sell. So just, again, go back to empathy. Listen to them. Listen to what they need. Try and build something around that. So then once you have your prospecting in place, once you have a decent method of selling for your sales reps, whether that's a very consultant-based approach like mine, whereas like for me, my pitching, I don't like scripts. I really like having a list of bullet points of things that I know I should say, or information I know I should collect before the end of the call. And I have it structured out in the order of importance. The least important thing I'm actually gathering at the end of the call. My most important fact I'm gathering at the beginning, so that way if we get disconnected or they need to reschedule last second after 5 minutes in the call, I at least know that, right? So figure out what your people need to sell or what you need to sell, and then structure it around that. But I think you can't just make a plug and play system or take a plug and play system from another company, even in your respective niche, and just apply it. It'll work for some guys, probably pretty well too, but it won't work for everyone. So as far as having a process, I think the most important thing is tracking your KPIs. That's very simple. Make a Google sheet for your outreach team, or however you're doing that. Outbound messages sent, inbound messages sent, positive responses. If you want to get into conversions and get really granular, you can. I don't think it's necessary on that front. So then with your sales reps, I think, again, have another tracking sheet in Google Sheets. Very simple to create. Discovery to calls taken, sales calls taken, rescheduled, track the basic numbers that you need tracked. Now you can bottleneck where your system is failing. This is something I've learned in coaching groups, but really more than anything, I've seen that the most successful businesses are tracking at a very, very granular level. So track your KPIs. Now you can go back to one sales rep and say, hey, to be honest, like, you're not getting the accepted call rates that, I really want you to get. you're not closing the amount of sales calls I really want you to close. Like, let's figure out what the main bottleneck is here and try and fix it. You know, do you have an idea of what you think it is? Ask them first, and if they don't, then you dive into it, and you've got to be the problem solver. You know, that's your job as CEO or sales manager or whatever the role is that's going to be communicating with these sales guys. So I think it's very simple. Have a prospecting method you believe in, track your KPIs on that note, have a sales team that can take those appointments or those calls from your prospecting team, track those KPIs as well. And that alone is all you really need to get started. And then as you go on, you can fix all the little stuff. But that base structure, I think, is imperative. And I don't think anyone will succeed without it.
Oh, no, I agree. And it's smart. And some people don't even think about that, or they may not think it's necessary. But when it gets to, I was talking to a client yesterday, they were talking about all the jobs they're running to do estimates. Like we can't get to them. Right. So he needs a pre-qualifying process in place before he even goes out to do the job. And you mentioned Zoom. I know some people that have started like HVAC companies, use HVAC companies, and they do it all remotely, right? They have their techs in different places. They have a warehouse that they go pick up equipment, whatever they need. And everything is just done remote. And, you know, while there are hiccups and stuff, it's still being successful, right? So they're learning to do that, cuts the overhead down. You know, and in this world, like I said, with Zoom, people are so comfortable with it now. Shoot, who's to say you don't, before you go out to somebody's house to say to do an estimate for an install, like for HVAC unit or roof or, you know, painting, whatever it is, that you not have a conversation on Zoom and pre-qualify them that way? Because now you got a face-to-face, you develop a relationship with them. Now they're more apt to, if they qualify, right now, they're more apt to be truthful, to tell you everything you need to know. And then so when you come out, you're really go through the process of, you know, providing the right estimate. They know what to expect. More likely to close the deal because you've built the relationship via Zoom. So I wouldn't say it's, you know, not something you shouldn't incorporate, like you said, and what you have. And for contractors, if you have somebody that could do that, just pre-qualify over a Zoom call, how amazing would that be?
Yeah, exactly. Saving time, saving money.
Cool. Well, look, so we talked about the discovery phase. You talked about it. We talked about how we're building out the sales process and to where we can make it duplicatable. And you did make good points in there too. Like not everybody's going to follow the same structure, so you do have to be able to cater. So let's get into, you know, you covered so many. I had several questions for you, and I was like, you know what, you covered them all in one foul swoop.
Good.
So no, it's good. So let's skip around here a little bit. Let's talk about follow up. Okay. Because let me tell you something. I'll give you a prime example because this is something that contractors I know fail a lot. My mom, okay, was looking for a roof. I put it out there, got a few people to bite. They, you know, they came, they did it, whatever, they did the estimate. Nobody followed up.
Yeah.
Nobody followed up to see if they wanted to do it. They didn't call, like maybe one time, and that was it. And I'm like,
pathetic, honestly.
The whole time, my mom's going, what they don't want my business, they want my money. And so finally, you know, I found somebody to do it, but I'm like, holy crap, all y'all had to do was call these people back.
And it was money.
And be persistent. So let's talk about follow-up for a minute. What, besides simply just calling somebody back, okay, so what are the best strategies you found that really help kind of increase the conversions in your follow-up process?
Yeah, well, I think one thing is people get so turned off by this idea of follow-up because when they're following up, they just go in with this assumption that the homeowner or the client, prospect, whatever, is going to be so pissed off about it. What I've seen in my experience is that most people really respect a strong follow-up game. And a lot of the responses I get when I follow up pretty aggressively is like, man, thank you so much for like coming back to me. Listen, like people are busy. They're not sitting by the phone waiting for you to call all day. They're not sitting in their AOL account waiting for you to email all day. I only say AOL just because I feel like some of these older prospects still use it, you know. They're not sitting there waiting for you. They're busy. They have lives. They have kids going to soccer practice, going to school. They're working a 9 to 5. Their wife, their husband is probably working as well. They might be in school on the side, you know, getting their education again. Like you have no idea the amount of reasons that they might actually be 5 times busier than you. So you follow up because odds are they haven't seen your other text. They haven't seen your other emails. They haven't seen your other calls, or they did and they thought, oh, I'll get back to that company later. And then guess what? Mom, grandma, the kids, everybody starts calling. Now your call, your missed call is so much further down in the queue that they don't see it again. They don't remember. Now they've gotten 10, 15 more emails, so they don't see your emails. Now they've gotten 10, 15 more texts. They don't see your text. So you don't follow up because you want to be this nagging little persistent brat who's like, come do business with me, come do business with me. You follow up because you have a superior offer. You know you have a great service. And if you're really confident in what you do, you don't mind following up. A lot of times when guys that I train like don't follow up, I look at them and I say, well, that's okay, but you just don't believe in the service at all enough. Because if you did, you'd want to help them. You'd want to keep following up and being persistent to help them. So I think that's the first thing to get out of the way is get out of your head. It's not about you. It's not about you being annoying. It's about you offering something that's going to ideally change their life, save them money, improve their quality of life, improve something. And if you can't say that, then get out of business because you're a scam artist, probably. If you don't have full belief in what you're doing, I mean, it's going to be practically impossible to sell from the first place, you know? So I believe this: if it's an online lead, you better be calling within 2.5 seconds. If you're not, don't waste your time. If you're generating leads and you're not calling, texting, emailing right away, you're wasting your time. And just like, don't even do any type of marketing, because on the online perspective for lead generation, it's very volatile. People will click these leads. I really don't think lead form even works that well anymore. Ideally, it's a quiz funnel or something like that. But if it is just a traditional lead form, especially, they might have had their daughter playing around on the laptop and it auto-filled that information. So there's that side of it as well. But the main side is they could be price shopping. They could be going through 6 different ads. You need to be the first one to hit them. And even beyond that, again, they're busy. They're going to forget. They might even forget that they clicked your ad and filled out the information. So we call right away. Within 2.5 seconds of the lead coming in, we call. If they don't answer, guess what? I left a voicemail. I'm shooting them a text and an email right away. This is why you need a CRM, because odds are, as a business owner, you don't have the time to do that. And to be honest, I almost think it's a little bit of a waste of time to have a sales rep do that as well. Software does it easy. You can get a pretty good CRM for probably $100 to $250 a month. That is well worth the value that you'll get out of it. You can set up nurturing sequences to do all of that on its own. Now, if it's not an online lead, I'm still doing the same type of follow-up because, again, I believe in it, you know? So I think the main thing is you should be hitting them with 3 touch points, and you should do it every day. When you want to stop doing that is up to you. If this is a social media lead and we shoot them an outbound message, we follow up 5 times before we basically call them a dead lead. And then what we're also doing is on that 5th DM, I'm sending them some type of free value just so that they got something out of the message, you know? Will they utilize that free value? Probably not, but at least now they know my intentions are to help. And it maybe they come back around 1 or 2 months down the road, 6 months down the road, and it's a better time for them. You don't know the scenario. So social media, if I'm just reaching out very cold, I'm going to shoot them 5 messages each day before I just call them a DQ'd lead, disqualified lead. If it's a normal like type of lead generation where you're running ads, SEO, and they're coming in, I'm call, text, email, call, text, email, call, text, email. Do it, I would say 5 to 7 days, almost minimum. Some people do 15 touch points. Some people do 5 to 7. But again, you're not serious if you're not following up. Every sales guru on the planet will tell you the money is in the follow-up. This is business. You know, this isn't an easy game. There's a reason why a majority of people that start businesses fail, because you've got to be persistent. You've got to be willing to have some people that are going to be annoyed by it. But the reality is the good majority of people are going to understand, you know, you're busy, they're busy, and they're going to be respected that you followed up. So an easy thing to do right there. I like this message across the board for anything. Hey, just bumping this message to the top. I know you're pretty busy. You know, let me know if you've received it. What I don't like doing is, hey, so-and-so, you know, I know you're probably pretty busy. I would still love to book in that call with you. It's not that that doesn't work. But I think when you're just simply letting them know, like, hey, I'm just bumping this initial message to the top. Let me know your thoughts. It's less invasive. I'm always trying to go for a less invasive route, but it's subtly direct, because now what I'm doing is I'm getting them back to my original message. I think a lot of people that come in and they're always like, let's book in that 15-minute call. Let's book in that 15-minute call. Hey, what do we got to do to book in that 15-minute call? No, I'm going to establish that, hey, I know you're really busy. I know you got a lot going on. I really believe I can provide some value. You know, if you can, go check out that original message I sent. And they respect that, versus asking them 7 times in a row in follow up to book in a 15-minute call or whatever it is, or a consultation, or, you know, send me a picture of your utility bill and solar, or, you know, can you let me know when's the last time you got your roof replaced? You know, I just want to make that initial connection, because again, once I get them talking, I'm in. So I like 5 touch points on social media, and that's if I get no response at all. I like 15 on any lead that comes in my system. That's bare minimum 3 types of touch points a day: call, text, email, 5 days in a row. Ideally, I'm going to go for, you know, a little bit longer. And again, like I've said, you know, it's like, if you're serious about it, you're going to do it. People aren't just going to fall in your lap. There's probably a lot of other companies that are doing what you're doing. They're probably reaching out again. They're probably reaching out as well. So you got to take into account that you're not the only person that's bidding. They're not sitting on the couch waiting for you to call the first time. You've got to convince people to do business with you. And it starts with convincing them to get on the phone with you, or a Zoom with you, or whatever that is.
You know, you said something that hit for a moment that I want to talk about, that is a strategy everybody thinks about. So you talked about, even if somebody doesn't respond, you leave them with some type of free value, because you never know where that's going to lead. So something that contractors can think about, or anybody can think about, and I know some do this. I know some roofers will say, look, regardless if you had roof repair or damage or whatever on your roof, let me get on your roof and just show that, hey, your roof is in good shape. So if somebody else comes along, they're not going to try to tell you it's not. So let me give you a certificate of, you know, that I've approved it, it's in good shape, whatever. People forget to leave that type of free value in the follow-up, right? That could maybe lead to a lead, or once again, lead to referral. You don't know. So something to think about, like you said, come up with something in your business that you can leave with them that's educational, that's valuable. Maybe even getting them to, you know, get them to sign up for some type of email list or whatever. Put them in, you know, put them in your funnel, in your circle, and then leave them with something that's great. So you've left, once again, you may never have a conversation with them. They see the messages, but now they've gained a great customer experience because they know you were there to help, because you left them with something, even though they never responded. So that, I'm gonna pull that out of what you said. I'm putting that in there. If I was Bradley, I'd drop a bomb. I need to figure out what my bomb dropping thing is. I will, you know, maybe
is it going to be some little sound effect that goes off, like on the podcast? Like,
yeah, I need to come up with something to be like 50 episodes in. Maybe I'll figure it out. Who knows? I need something to go with it. Well, cool, man. Follow ups, and that's where the money is. And people, just like you said, you had some really great points in there, especially on, you know, leaving the free value, but also just knowing that as long as, if you're committed to your product or service, your business, knowing that you're there to help them and that doesn't bother you. And you know, that's all great points for anybody. And that's translatable across all industries, you know, doesn't have
all
to be
industries. Agreed.
what we do. Yeah, cool. So I'm the content guy. We got to talk content for a moment. So in the group, I'm in the process right now. When I get doing this podcast, starting out these guides. So I got about a month and a half of guides that we're going to build out. A lot of it's built around content, and people are missing this in their business because it's hard. Content's difficult. I spend a lot of time and hours researching, coming up with the best way to present things that people can learn. I did that as a teacher for 15 years. So that, I know it's hard, but it's extremely valuable when you're educating prospects and get them to know, like, and trust you. And so let's talk for a minute, how important, okay, because you're a content person as well. People don't know you've had viral YouTube channel. I'm right, if I'm not correct.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So you understand the content game and how important it is. So let's talk about how important is content to your sales process if you're a business owner, sales manager, rep. Like, what are things you could do to to create the content that's going to help you in your sales process when you actually go out to meet the customer.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, content is 100% imperative. And again, kind of going back into that very first question, like, especially given the times we're in and the transition we've had, it's like everybody's on social media. I mean, grandmothers are on social media, they're on Facebook, you know. So I think there's a few different types of way you want to structure your content. I think if you're a business owner, really structuring your content that like you're a thought leader in your community, I think both inside your niche, but also just even outside of it. Like, I think people want to know they're doing business with a regular guy. And that's where I think, you know, being the guy that pulls up in the Ferrari or something is actually not the move, because you don't seem relatable to them then. Now you seem like someone who's outside their realm of like achievable influence on what they could probably do with their own life. Not saying they couldn't, but you know, it's easier to scale your life as a business owner than it is, or your financials as a business owner, than it probably is as, you know, your traditional prospect. It's just, you know, kind of how it is. So I think as a business owner, you want to find this balance of being a thought leader, but also being relatable. So I think vulnerability is such an underrated aspect. I don't want people to go too crazy with this. Like, I've seen some guys that take it too far and they're getting way too much from their personal life. And I'm like, listen, bro, like, you don't need to be talking about the details of your divorce on Facebook. Like, yeah, that is going to turn people away. Like, you know, like, so find that balance of being vulnerable and transparent, but also being like a thought leader. And I think when you find that, like that meshing ground between those two things, I think you as the owner will post extremely valuable content, and you'll draw in a huge audience pool just from that. So then they might shoot you a message on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, wherever it is. And, you know, hey, man, like, I really admired that post. Da, 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 da. Listen, you know, we actually are looking for, you know, a new roof. And this is where you are selling yourself and not your service. You are not selling your roof, your new unit, your install deal, whatever it is. You are selling yourself, and your content will do that for you. That is something that has, I would say, probably, like, especially when I was doing SEO, I would say about 90% of people signed with me because of the experience I offered. Because of that phone call, I really listened. I made them feel valued, and my content did the same thing. With my content, they're saying, this is a real guy. This is a real human being. This is someone who's relatable. He understands me. He goes through this. He's going through the same mental battles as myself. Like, people want to feel like someone understands their struggle, and your content can do that if you're taking a transparent approach, and then also subtly sneaking in some subtle call to action for an offer. 10, 20 years in business. We've got 5 stars. Yeah, proud of the team. Like, you don't got to get too crazy with it. Just be real. Just be real. Now, how you structure content on a business page, I think, is where now it gets vastly different. This is something I actually personally don't do for my own brand, only because of kind of my target audience is going to be a lot different than probably what, you know, the average audience listener is here. But on a business page, I think consistency is the main key. I think where a lot of people lose hope is they don't see the engagement they want, but this is a numbers game. And most people listening, if you spent time optimizing and posting on a Facebook business page, a LinkedIn business page, and an Instagram business page each month, even if it was once a week, offers, new exciting things happening in the company, local news that, you know, are somewhat relative, a homeowners association guide, some free little value drops here and there. It's not all that crazy to do, and you could probably have an intern making $15 an hour doing it for you. If that gets one customer a month, I don't know your margins, but I'm more than willing to guess it outweighs that $15 an hour salary.
Well, yeah, and not only that, like, you think about content for a moment, like, some people just want to see, are you active? Like,
yeah.
are you active on social media? Does your website actually look like you put time and effort into it and you change the content out there? It's not the same thing you've had for 10, 15 years. Like, are you actively putting stuff out on a consistent basis? And the consistency is a show of a brand and the presence online, and that they trust. If they go, oh man, they're always putting out content, they might not even look at the content, they just see that you're consistent with it. Now they know, hey, maybe I can trust these people because they care about their business, they're educating, they're putting stuff out there, they're putting effort into their brand, and obviously there's somebody because they keep putting stuff out. So now they're just going to start trusting. It's creating the brand awareness. So when you come out, you're doing the sales process with them. They know who it is. And to me, and another, I think you touched about this or not. One thing that some do or don't do is, if you've got really good sales reps that are real personable, got a big personality like Greg here, you throw them up on a video, have them do selfie videos, talk about what they're doing, and then putting that in your content. And that doesn't require you a lot of thought process. You just talk about how you served the customer that day, where they were, how you solved the problem for them, how they're feeling after you did it, and you post it up there. And people will watch those videos and they'll go, oh, I want that result. I want that thing. And so that alone, creating content that's consistent, they see you're active. Two, they can get to know, like, and trust you. They recognize your brand. They're seeing your brand all the time, and automatically they're gonna, that's gonna help with the sales process. For sure.
And I think the consistency, like you said, is so key, because ultimately, like, what that showcases is, like, everybody wants to be consistent, everybody struggles with it, So when you see someone or a brand or a company that is consistent, subconsciously, this is someone you want to be like. One little hack, I think, too, if you're a business owner, is, like, if you're up at 4 a.m. every morning, like, I would literally take a picture of your clock showing 4 a.m., your phone, screenshot 4 a.m., post it on your story. Another day, like, happy to be up before the sun rises. Because what that subtly and subconsciously communicates, I think, to a prospect is, oh, this guy's dialed in. He's locked in. He's doing business every day. He's consistent. That's just the one little extra measure that I think really, really subtly communicates to them that you're going to take care of them.
I agree. So we're coming up on the 50-minute mark here. So I want to start wrapping things up. So I want to ask, I'm going to skip the last few questions because we actually talked a lot about them. I am going to ask this one question. So in the sales side, you actually need feedback on your process, right? People don't think about the sales part, like getting feedback. Why did you not go with us? What could we have done differently? Do we not serve your needs, whatever. So this question you may or may not know, or maybe I'll catch you off guard on it. But so have you ever asked a prospect why they didn't buy, or, what did you say? What did you learn from that experience? Did you actually go, hey, look, so what is it about this product or service that you don't want to go with us? Like, and getting them to be real specific so you can improve upon that. So have you ever done that? And what does that look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's an awesome question. This is almost like two-tiered, because what I would say is, you need to be, like, setting your pitch up so that it's practically a no-brainer for them to say yes, and that's not that hard to do. It's going into those pain points so that by the end of the pitch, you're asking questions like, okay, so based on everything we've seen, we know I can get you a new roof. We know I can get the insurance to cover it so that you guys aren't going out of pocket, or whatever the situation is. Just based on this, is there any reason you wouldn't move forward with this? And that is, like, my favorite question to ask, because I want them to be in their head like, oh, fuck no, pardon my French. Like, there's like, I can see it in their eyes when they're going, like, damn, that's a good salesman, because, like, I have no objection, So I would argue that you should be asking a question like that on every single call. And you should be asking it before they're telling you yes or no. And I think that's where, if you structure your pitch the right way, you explain your product the right way, it should be a no-brainer sale. If you really know your stuff, if you really have a superior product and a superior offer compared to the marketplace, it should be a no-brainer. And, like, what I've seen is, I've worked heavily in the contracting space on the marketing and sales side. I've seen it in solar so many times where, at the end of the call, if you're saying, hey, based off everything we've shown you, I'm going to get you, you're going to save $40-50 a month on your power bill. I'm going to get you some tax rebates. On top of it, I'm going to give you $1,000 right away for going solar. Is there any reason you wouldn't do this? On the roofing side, I already gave you that example. You should be ending your pitch with, is there any reason this wouldn't be an absolutely perfect fit for you? And then when you see those gears turning in their head, you've got them. If they can't give you an answer within 1 second, they have no major objection, and you did a phenomenal job pitching. So I would almost answer that question to say, yes, for one, I do on every single call. And I think everyone should ask a question like that on every single call. And then here's where you take this. Now, let's say for some reason they do have some objection, yeah, no, honestly, like, I'm not going to lie, you have a really great product. Maybe they just, for whatever reason, aren't going to pull the trigger, no matter how good you are, no matter how good your product is. To be honest, it's just really not the right time. Like, we've got this, and this going on. And here's the reality. A lot of times they might have an objection they're insecure about and they don't want to tell you. A lot of times, like, there's going to be something there that they just will not tell you because they're very insecure about it. That doesn't mean you still shouldn't be making money off them. No, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, listen, I completely understand. And like, for one, again, I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to talk to me. You did say that, if this weird scenario, whatever wasn't going on, you'd probably be down to make a purchasing decision. I mean, let me ask you this, you've seen the numbers, you've seen how my product can really benefit you. Could you connect me with a sister or a friend that you think is there anyone that like comes to your mind that this could also be very beneficial for you? Now, here's the thing. Here's where they're at, and this is how you want to position yourself in your call. Now they're sitting here thinking, well, man, I do feel a little bit guilty because, to be honest, we are the perfect fit for him, but because I've got this little insecurity in my head for why I can't move forward that he doesn't know about, like, this is a good guy. He sold me on his experience. If you've sold them on the experience of you versus your product, especially, then they're going to want to hook you up. Then they're going to want to say, yeah, you know what? My Aunt Susan, like, she really needs a new roof. And honestly, like, I know she's in a good place. She could probably move forward. Like, let me connect you with her. Here's her phone number. Now you get to call Susan. Hey, Susan, I just sat with Mr. and Mrs. Smith, your brother and sister-in-law. Wow, great couple, by the way. Listen, they thought that you'd actually be a really great fit for our roofs. We've been in business 20 some years. We can offer this great warranty. You don't have to go out of pocket. It'll go through insurance. Like, do you mind if we come by and we just do a free inspection sometime and I can just explain how it works? Bam. That's how you get a referral. You don't need to get referrals by waiting until they've seen deliverable results. Again, if you're confident in your product, if you're confident in yourself, and you did a good job pitching, they are going to give business to you. My rule of thumb is for every one prospect, one client I get, I should be able to get 4 more out of them. And if you don't, it's just because you're being too lazy to ask. If you don't, it's because you're overthinking, you're in your head and you're thinking, oh, they didn't want to go with me. So no, screw that. Ask everyone. Grant Cardone talks about that a lot as well. You should be asking everyone. You should be talking to everyone, whether it's a client, a prospect, whether they had a credit film they can't move forward, whether they've got a bankruptcy and they can't move forward, whether they're just too broke to do anything, whether they've got whatever situation that you either do or don't know about. Ask. For the love of God, just ask. It's a question. And guess what happens if they get pissed for some odd reason? Great. Millions of other fish in the sea. Don't even worry about it. You're not going to be perfect in business. You're not going to take care of everyone in business. At Google My Business, they even say that you actually want some negative reviews because if you have a perfect 5-star, it looks bad. So don't be afraid of what they might say because you asked for a referral, because you asked if there's any reason they don't go forward. Like, believe in your damn product.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's funny you said that. So not only, so in your sales process, you have incorporated the feedback on the spot. And then second, not only that, I forgot about this, even part of the process is how to generate referrals with sales. You're generating referrals with sales, which once again, hey, you create in your sales process, we talked about this at the beginning, you create a great customer experience regardless, right? You listened, you showed empathy. Guess what? When you do ask for those referrals and you do find somebody that may connect with, you've took one lead, however you got that lead, door knocking, online ads, and you turned it into 4, 5, 6 leads, and those leads got warmed up because you provided a great customer experience. So exactly. As you have said, you can't negate the sales process and making that experience just as good as your product or your service, all that stuff. Like that part of your business has got to be, on point, and has got to be a great experience, so they don't feel like they're being sold to. They feel like they're being helped. So no, man, and once again, some more bombs being dropped, especially in the philosophy of sales and how sales has changed. So, well, look, we're gonna wrap this thing up here. Like that was, I know we had talked before here. We're like, yeah, we'll do like 30 minutes, but man, there were so many good things. Like I wasn't gonna stop this thing. I wanted it to go. It's a longer than normal episode, and I'm perfectly fine with that because it's gonna pull out some really great stuff for anybody doing sales, anybody doing business owner, or anything like that. So, Greg, if somebody wants to reach out and work with GrayScale Media and you and your team and what you guys do there, talk to me a little more about that so we can get your contact info out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can do that a few ways. I mean, I have a really comprehensive, like probably my highest ticket offer is that I can actually step in and basically be a subcontracted sales department for a company. I can get appointment setters and closers trained, set up some outreach methods, get leads coming in, get some systems, get some educational stuff. But that's like I try to do that for very, very large companies that are ready for it. What I really like to do is consultation, like on the side of just the sales mindset and getting you thinking the right way. If you want to reach out and talk to any of that stuff, one thing I'll even do is, I'll do like a free 30-minute Zoom session where we can just talk it out and see if there's something that makes sense. On the internal side, we have a team internally that can help build out any systems as well. So we have a lot of flexibility as far as what we can provide on the sales side. And I know for a lot of companies, this is like a very difficult thing to figure out. It takes a special group of people to really get a sales department set up and running the right way. So we can do that. We can do some consultation, talk some other marketing services as well. I'm really trying to steer out of that for the entirety of it. But if you want to reach out, you can reach out to me at greg@grayscalemedia.co. And GrayScale is GRAYSCALE media.co, not .com. You can reach out to me there. That's the easiest way. Or if you go to our website, you can check out our website and book in a time to talk as well there. But I would definitely love to talk to anybody that's listening or on this podcast. I'm pretty convinced that even in a free 30-minute session, I can give you a ton of free value that can even just kickstart everything you need. So what I would like to leave this podcast off on is just this one note. And this is basically my motto: is everyone is valuable. Every single person is valuable, whether they're qualified, unqualified, rich, poor, broke. Business is networking. That's all it is. It is like be in the business of people and you will make a crap load of money and your business will excel.
Yep, I agree, man. So I want to thank Greg again for coming on the podcast, dropping all the bombs, all the great golden nuggets for you guys. Like I said, we'll put his contact info in with the podcast stuff. So if you need help with your sales side, building out a sales team, this guy can definitely do it for you and make it happen. So I want to thank you again for watching and listening to the Preferred Contractors podcast. If you haven't already, hop into Preferred Contractors group. All you need to do is go onto Facebook, search Preferred Contractors, and it should be the very first group that pops up. Hop in there, answer the questions, and join all the valued fun we have in there. Thanks again for watching. Until next time.